working with this one organization, and they were trying to build a refugee center in Greece. And the money was coming from the Middle East. And so this poor lady, she had everything planned out. They had the location, everything, but they could not get the money through the bank system because the Greek banking system kept blocking the money. They were saying it hasn't cleared KYC, it hasn't cleared AML, and eventually the project just failed completely. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Tucker Talks. Today we have with us Maurice Khan. So we've had some conversations about his name. It is Maurice Khan. All right, Maurice is a senior manager at IBF Net Group, a fintech company with a focus on building a blockchain-based Sharia-compliant metaverse. Now, his primary responsibilities at IBF include overseeing growth strategy, new product launches, and of course, ensuring product market fit. He has an extensive background in the fintech industry and has held various commercial and strategic positions, including as a founding team member at a previous fintech startup. Maurice is also an angel investor in a couple of startups, demonstrating his passion for the tech industry. His current mission at IBF is to drive early adoption of the blockchain-based Sharia-compliant metaverse. Thank you so much, Maurice. I will now let you actually tell us about yourself and how you actually ended up where you are today.
Well, thank you very much, Shane, and thank you very much, Murat, for having me. So again, just to introduce myself briefly, my name is Muhammad Mughis or Mughis Khan, whichever is comfortable. Of course, we have had a little short conversation about my name as well. So it's Mughit in Arabic and Mughis in Urdu. So a little bit about myself. I come from India, and but I spent last 10 years in Malaysia and Indonesia and Singapore as well. So I was a part of, right before joining IBF, I was a part of a fintech company back in Malaysia that has license in Indonesia and Oman as well, and we started from Singapore. The company's business model was mainly to connect investors with Sharia compliant opportunities, be it project financing or right startups that are focusing on the halal, that are focusing on the halal ecosystem all by itself. Uh, that was me in fintech, but soon, earlier this year, I joined IBF Net. Actually, my introduction to blockchain, or my introduction to, in fact, IBF Net, was not this year. It has been for quite some time. I've known the team for a very, very long time, and I've been with them informally, looking at the progress and what they were developing. I was very intrigued with the idea, was very much interested. And finally, when I got a chance to join them, I happily joined them. Right before the fintech company that I'm mentioning right now, I was with one of the big fours, a very short span of time, and that's exactly where I was introduced to blockchain as well. Fortunately or unfortunately, I did not really get a chance to work in this space, and I ended up being with the fintech startup. But finally, I'm here again, and I'm very, very happy and excited to be on this journey. I believe the technology itself, the ecosystem, the community has a lot to give back, and it has a lot of potential, which is still unlocked, and which is still locked, and it's right there for it to be unlocked, and for the potential to go out there and solve many problems. Especially, I mean,
So,
if we talk about Islamic finance.
so tell me about your first experience with the blockchain. Did you start by investing? How did you learn about the blockchain, and how did you start engaging?
Sure. Actually, that was a very, very short time when I was with one of the big fours, and it was a research project, and the title was very, very interesting, which was implementation of blockchain in Islamic finance. And that's where I got to know about the transparency, about the traceability in the blockchain, and that was very intriguing. But I could not really continue the research. I could not continue the project, and soon I went into when I went into fintech. Back then, just to put things in context, Bitcoin was priced at $2,500. But call it my stupidity or call it a very naive decision. I did not really invest in Bitcoin because I did not understand it completely. And coming from the finance industry, we believe one should only invest what they can afford to lose. That's one, and one should only invest what they really understand. I didn't really understand Bitcoin then, but I ended up investing in Bitcoin when the price was too high. So that's my story about investing, and that's my story about how I got introduced to blockchain.
And so, based on this experience that you have, why are you now? Because it's one thing to invest money, like you said, what you can lose, but now you're putting your entire livelihood on it because you are now working in the blockchain industry. So, what convinces you that this is something you want to do?
We'll be right back after the break.
Tekka Talks brings you stories from around the world that will help you understand how crypto and Islamic finance can change our lives for the better. Subscribe and follow us to keep learning what you want to do.
Look, blockchain in itself as a technology, it has a lot of potential. And I believe if you are at the right place at the right time, especially when a technology is emerging, it has a lot of potential. Think about it as internet. Back in 90s when I was not perhaps not even born, or when I was very, very young, people used to say exactly the same things about internet as well. And people used to say exactly the same about applications on your phone. And I remember how people used to say website. They used to say World Wide Web or www dot this dot that, right? So the world changed. And now, while I'm young, I believe I should be taking these risks, and I should be at the forefront of an emerging technology so that I don't miss the boat. I'm very passionate about Islamic finance as well, right? So that's where it both things gets connected. For Islamic finance, I really believe Web3 and blockchain are an absolute perfect. It's a match made in heaven, right? We talk about transparency. We talk about traceability. What I mean, is there a better technology that someone can suggest other than blockchain if it when it comes down to these two things? And if there's a better technology that can be implemented in Islamic finance, I don't really think so, in my humble opinion.
So, what specifically in the blockchain, and feel free to go in some detail, do you find to be compelling about Islamic finance? I mean, after all, we have Islamic banks. I mean, they exist. They've existed for decades. So why change?
I don't really want to talk about Islamic banks because I personally have a lot of problems with the banking system as is. And I wouldn't shy away from mentioning that. That includes Islamic banks too. So, first and foremost, we need innovative ideas within the Islamic finance ecosystem and the landscape, right? And we need to really implement what Islamic finance stands for, not change the names, and not just take out the word riba, take out the word gharar, take out the word maisir, but the underlying practices remain the same. We have done so, right, for years, but now is the time to change a lot of things. And that's where innovation comes into the picture. And while you're innovating, why not build things on a new technology? Why not build things on a technology that's faster? Why not build things on a technology that's decentralized in nature, right? That's it's out there for people to know what's happening with their money. It's out there for people to know how their money is being used, and they can trace it very easily. One example that I can give you is, let's say, donation. For Muslims, donation is a big part of our lives, right? Yet we find it very, very hard. A lot of us, we find it very, very hard to uh, trust which organization to donate our money to, or call it zakat, call it sadaqah. And on top of it, we don't really know how that money is being used. Now imagine a solution that is being built on blockchain. When traceability becomes easier, wouldn't it be easier for the end user to trust this organization, and would it be solving a problem for the end user? I believe so. It would be doing it. It would be solving the end user's problem. So that's how I think these two submerges and these two come together to solve current Muslim world problems.
Okay, so let's go into a little bit more details for the people who don't understand and are looking for a way. This podcast is a way to learn about the blockchain and about what all the use cases you're talking about. So you talk about donations. Now, I could obviously donate to my zakat money to a central fund, and they will send some kind of report saying this the donations that were collected were sent to these people, and this is what the benefit came. So how can the blockchain improve this? You said it brings more transparency, it brings more trust, but what precisely about the technology does this?
Well, first of all, I mean, there are not many avenues out there where people, for let's say for Muslims who own tokens, right? Who own Bitcoins, who own Ethereums. First of all, where there aren't many avenues where people can donate their portion of zakat on this money. So there's that. So some solution needs to be out there which helps people donate their Bitcoins if they want to donate in cryptocurrencies. So there's that. Number two, when it comes to traceability or transparency, if it is on the chain, if people are and if they know it's on the chain, the track record or the record itself, the ledger can't really be altered or it can't really be disturbed, then that brings more trust to me. So, I mean, not to go too deep into the technical aspect of it, but just to put things out there in context for people to know. I mean, yes, it's on the chain, and it can't really be messed around with. It can't really be a lie because humans can lie, but technology won't, right?
Yeah, actually, a very interesting point. Not to mention that we see a lot of NGOs actually trying to use a blockchain in order to basically help refugee in certain places in Africa, for example, and other country, where they are looking for transparency. They need proof of the receiving hand, to avoid the intermediary players or NGOs on the ground. Sometimes, let's say, a global NGO wants to give a certain amount of money to each refugee. If they sometimes go through an intermediary, whatever it is, non-governmental or governmental, there's a lot of opacity of how much has really been given at the end of the day to the receiving hand. And I saw some of the use case where the NGOs were using blockchain and some of KYC and stuff like that, using mobile app completely to digitalize the entire transaction and verify that the person at the receiving end doesn't come twice. Especially in our culture, we have a lot of Muhammad bin Muhammad. This so is all the same name. So they had the issue with this. So they are telling me that in certain cases, the use of blockchain technology was able to help them out, and they are venturing as a pilot. It's still at some testing level. That this kind of technology is really helping those NGOs to have some kind of control and visibility and traceability in those transactions, and also reduce the cost and reduce the intermediary, where most of the time people are taking a big chunk of whatever dollars is sent there. So that's definitely something that's happening.
We'll be right back after the break.
We believe that the financial system is broken and that our banks and insurance companies don't have our best interests at heart. We've built Techaturn to help us get together as a community to save, earn, and access credit. Join us today and discover how you can grow your savings while helping others. I remember there was we were working with this one organization and they were trying to build a refugee center in Greece, and the money was coming from the Middle East, and so this poor lady, she had everything planned out, they had the location, everything, but they could not get the money through the bank system because the Greek banking system kept blocking the money. They were saying it hasn't cleared KYC, it hasn't cleared AML, and eventually the project just failed completely. Everything was there, the money was there, they were ready on the ground to build the thing, and it just didn't happen. It was incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, and every time, I mean, you want to deal with people's money, there has to have a lot of trust, right? Your end user needs to trust you, the intermediary, if you are acting as an intermediary. And let's say on the chain, if they're going to transact with each other, there needs to be trust. Now, practically, I can't really be knowing each and everyone whom I'm going to be interacting with. So there needs to be a trust system built, right? And to me, I mean, this technology literally solves that problem. For instance, I mean, although this is your domain and I don't really want to go into your domain, but eventually, if you want to solve the insurance problem for Muslims, right? And you want to pool in the funds, and then those funds will eventually be used for people who are going through something. How do you make sure that everyone, or I mean, in the pot, everyone who's contributing to the pot trusts each other, and they trust the platform or the intermediary they're working with? So that, to me, the answer is in itself the blockchain, right?
Yeah, definitely. I echo that. Actually, we have. It's really amazing that we see those tools actually being available on the chain, and being able to be self-checked and transparent. And that's the way to go. Actually, it's like we want the community and the audience to finally police any of those projects and make sure that the chain is there actually to verify any transaction. The contract cannot lie, the code cannot lie, and that's very
Exactly.
exciting. You see a lot of controversy now, like I gave this and to a certain organization. How much is really given at the receiving end of the recipient? It's very opaque, very and cost of running this. There is always the claim of running the entire end-to-end donation process. It is very costly, according to the organizer. That you really, for each dollar given, there's really little left actually at the receiving end. So if there's a way to enable technology to leapfrog and to go direct as a peer-to-peer payment directly from the donor to the recipient, that would be amazing. I mean, I'm looking forward to see a project like that taking shape actually.
So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk a little bit about what IBF is doing with the metaverse. So, Facebook obviously was the big harbinger of the metaverse, right? They came in and nobody understood what it was, nobody cared until Facebook decided to become Meta, and all they could talk about was the metaverse. But actually didn't do that well. So now Facebook is pivoting and they're focusing on AI. So why is this what you guys decided to focus on, which is to build a Sharia compliant and I guess a metaverse for the Muslims? Why is this important?
Sure. I mean, let's just take a step backwards. I mean, one thing that I want to clarify here, I mean, that's good that I got the opportunity to. IBF as a company does not only focuses on metaverse. A metaverse is only one of the verticals that we have under the umbrella of the products or the portfolio of products that we are developing. What IBF exactly is doing, it's trying to develop an ecosystem of different products interacting with each other, where if a user comes, he can take multiple decisions, he can perform multiple actions. For instance, right now we're going in the market with and it's very similar to Takadao, right? Takadao is the umbrella, call it the umbrella portfolio, and then within the portfolio you have different verticals. Takatalk be it one, and then you have the Takaful product of your which you soon will be launching. So that's exactly what IBF is also trying to do in a different aspect. So IBF Net is as a group of companies in Singapore. What we focus on, which is DigiLabs, which we focus on the Web3 based app developments. And in Indonesia, we have an e-learning education platform. IBFNet is not a company. I would say it's not a community that's just been born. It has actually been there since early 90s, and it was the only Islamic finance focused community or forum for researchers to come, for students to come contribute to the community and learn from the community. But we soon decided to change the shape and give it a shape of a company that is in Web3. Now, coming to the products or the portfolio of products that we are developing, we're going in the market with our very first product called Benevolence. Benevolence is an app, or it's a product within the ecosystem that will be used for people to donate their money, right? So that is in the ecosystem, and this money will actually be channeled through NGOs within Indonesia. Now we have another platform, or that is currently in the shelf, which will be for NFT creation, and then another application which will be for trading these NFTs. But we understand, while we are trying to build an ecosystem or a miniature economy, and we want to deal with people's money, one aspect of a Muslim's life is donation. The other aspect is growing that money. How does a person grow that money? One, it starts with education. And that's exactly what our Indonesian company focuses on. We partner with universities, and we are offering e-learning courses with our e-learning platform. That's one, and that's exactly where we are introducing metaverse. And we want students to experience metaverse through universities, but that is not really a product that we are going to just launch out there. We want the market to be ready for it, and we believe the market is not there yet. On top of it, we want to also reshape the shopping experiences. I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's still a little confidential on that part, what we are planning to do. But coming back to the ecosystem or the miniature economy, a person comes onto the platform, he's able to calculate his zakat. That is the tool that we are building. Then he is able to donate that zakat on the ecosystem in itself. That's Benevolence. Then comes growing the funds. That's exactly where we are looking into having investment opportunities as well, which is, again, it's something that we are working on. So all in all, it's going to be an ecosystem. All in all, it's going to be a miniature economy where people can educate, where people can donate, where people can grow their funds as well. At the same time, they can create NFTs. At the same time, they can um, trade NFTs as well. So that's what IBF is all about. IBF Net is a group of companies with different products.
Yeah.
And,
Quick
and that's
question.
exactly where Meta
Yeah.
also comes into the picture. Yeah,
So,
sorry.
quick question: how big is now the community that was starting as, I would say, as a Web 2 or traditional web, and what is the adoption? So if I calculate those guys, they were like 25, 30, 25, let's say, if they were students, 20, 25 when they joined a couple of years back. And you have now also, mashallah, older generation. So I suppose you have a very diverse group of old and less old. So please tell us, how's the adoption? How do they like this new, metaverse? Because for me, a metaverse, to simplify it for the audience, I look at it like building like a country. You're building a country in a digital space. So with community, with rule, regulation, and so on. So it's another way of building a different institute, like literally, like having people coming in the country and starting policing and your community and let them engage. Obviously, your community will have younger people, older people. So take me through I'm sure you have been discussing with your audience the difficulties to get into that understanding of the DeFi metaverse, and of course the younger generation feedback on that project as well, please.
Sure.
And how large is your community now, mashallah, to try to support the community?
Our community is as big as 84,000 people. And these are the people who have been there since the beginning of IBFNet. These are the people who are researchers. These are the people who are students. So people are within this community learning and contributing and giving back to the community as well from learning aspect. We are partners with universities as well. But we haven't really onboarded each and every student on our platform. But that's exactly what we are going to do with our e-learning platform when we partner up with these universities to offer these courses as well on metaverse. If that's going to happen on metaverse, it doesn't necessarily have to happen on metaverse. That's going to be a business decision. But one thing that we are focusing on right now is how to convert this community into our users, because that's going to be a transition from Web 2 to Web 3. So what we call it is Web 2.5. That's a transition phase. So what we are going through as a business or as a startup, which is called the feedback loop, right? We are interacting with our community. We are interacting with our users and telling people this is what we are building. Do you mind testing it? Do you mind? And we have very close members as well. I'll add a bit to this context as well to build on to the context, right? So we have our chairman is Dr. Ubaidullah. He has been the professor and he has been somebody who has contributed a lot to Islamic finance. So his community as a person is very strong as well. So we are interacting with this community to give us back the feedback so that we can take this product on a level where it's very, very user friendly, because we don't want people to understand it as a Web3 product and run away from it, because this community is not really Web3 savvy or blockchain savvy. They want their problem to be solved. As long as the problem is solved, they don't really care what technology is being built on. So that's the phase we are in as a business. And we don't really want to launch each and every project. We want to see the product market fit. Our MVPs are ready, and right now we're in the feedback loop with the community that we have built. So I mean, a ballpark figure, the people we are interacting with or the people who are attending our talks is about 1,000, 2,000 at a time.
Amazing. I like that the transition between Web 2 to Web 2.5. And, that's what's happening. I was in talk yesterday with a sport app, actually. They had like millions of users on the channel as a Web 2 product. And then they start moving into introducing, the back end of the technology in the blockchain, crypto, and, Web 3. And the exciting things, I was like, what's the point? What's the point of moving from your Web 2 now and transiting to the Web 3 technology if you have a very sustainable, good business for yourself? So I was trying to poke into the guys' understanding of this market, and it's like, what's funny is like, when we introduce this technology to our partners, who are the football club owner, we started with digitalizing the ticketing, with an NFTs and so on and so forth. And they were like, if you just, as a user, consumer, you would just go and buy a regular ticket, and that's it. The ticket usually end up in the trash all the time. You assist to a football game, and that would be the end of it. So he said, what was funny is like, imagine you attend the Al Ahly or any of the big games happening in Saudi Arabia now with the famous football players, and you buy your ticket through a blockchain or an NFT for a very amazing final, whatever, and you have Ronaldo playing in that game. This NFT can be something that you keep, not only as a proof that you've been part of that experience, life experience, but you can literally resell even this NFT in the next 20, 15 years. Say I was, part of. So there were a lot of funny things that people really are willing to onboard and get into that space because they see value in this digital asset that are, خلاص, they're like store, and you cannot get rid of it. It's not anymore like a paper trail. It's really something that you were part of, and that's what he was telling me. That's the trend, is digitalization of not only asset but everything that can happen around this industry.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting to learn that.
Yeah, I mean, while we are on this tokenization aspect, this is something that is very, very, I mean, that's area of interest for me. Why? Because I think I mean, when we look at NFTs has built its own reputation, which to a lot of people who do not understand NFTs, it's very, very wrong, right? They would compare it to the apes. They would compare it to all the funny things that happened between late 2020 to 2022. But people who understand NFTs or tokenization, right? Imagine a solution where people can buy properties with small token sizes, or when people can invest in a company and own equity wherever the whenever we talk about equity, right? Be it equity in a property, be it equity in any kind of asset or in a company, tokenization can actually be a game changer because that's where your value is stored. And you don't really have to go through the conventional contractual systems. Smart contracts are there to solve your problems. So it makes it very, very fast and it stores your value and it's not going to be changed by anyone. So you're pretty much safe there when you own an asset in small tokens.
Yeah, so this is fascinating. Now, just to switch gears a little bit, because you actually have a perspective that we don't see often. So you're originally Indian, and you were living in Southeast Asia for quite a bit of time, and now you've moved to Dubai. So, what was the Web3 adoption like in Southeast Asia, and where do you see it going, and why did you leave and come to Dubai?
Sure, I mean, when we talk about Web3 adoption in Southeast Asia, it wasn't really bad, to be honest. When you look at Indonesia as a market, it's a very, very interesting market, and not a lot of people talk about that market but if you look at the potential of that market, the amount of money or the amount of investors in the crypto industry coming from Indonesia, it's massive. And the adoption of Islamic financial solutions in Indonesia is massive too, and the amount of people going towards innovative solutions, especially when it comes to investing, especially when it comes to transferring the money, or even all in all, adoption of technology, it's massive and it's very, very impressive. I've always been very intrigued with the region. I've always been intrigued particularly with Indonesia. And while I was in Malaysia, and my focus was although fintech, but Indonesia was a huge market for us. And when we were dealing with investors out globally, and we were building a platform where investors can actually invest directly in Indonesia, there was a lot of interest.
What is it about living in Indonesia, or what is it about the people in Indonesia and their belief system or their lifestyles that causes them to be very much causes crypto adoption and Web3 adoption to be high in that country?
Well, I mean, it would purely be my assumption, but I like to believe that Indonesian people like to try a lot of things, and Indonesian people are very fast with adoption as well. And while there's a banking system, while there are other avenues, but small ticket sizes in Indonesia really wins the game. So let's say if you're building a platform where investment is just 100,000 IDR, people would definitely go for it. And once people and things become viral in Indonesia very, very fast. So that it's purely based on my assumption and I mean observation of the market. But that's I believe is could be one of the reasons for people to adopt this or to go towards this industry very, very fast.
Yeah, I think in crypto there's the ability to do smaller transactions without having to go through banks, and so it becomes easier for people to adopt. That makes a lot of sense.
There's a lot of N bank as well. So the N bank population is big and underserved. So there's a lot of interest in. Somehow the peer-to-peer payment as done by crypto is a driver, and definitely the remittance business. Indonesian maids of workers or engineer working in Malaysia, Singapore, they need to make payment into the remote family village somewhere, and sometimes crypto becomes the cheapest alternative for them to make the payment. So that's one. And they are very like smart because of the internet penetration and the high speed internet and the access to mobile technology. It's a very high penetration in that respect, I would say.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's the second largest population of Muslims in the world, right? So when it comes to anything that challenges the current system or that attracts them towards better Islamic financial solutions, they definitely go for it. That's what at least my observation is of the market.
Very true.
And
Yeah.
so one of the reasons, I mean, we were all of us, I mean, the management team and everyone was in Southeast Asia for quite some time. But I mean, we dealt with this market when it came to raising money, when it came to dealing with investors, and a lot of input was coming from this market. So we decided that one of us have to be in this market to sort of explore other spaces as well, and not to just be around the money market or donation, investing, and whatnot. Let's just look what other solutions can actually be built based on Meta, because adoption of technology is in Dubai is second to none either, right? And it's a business friendly place, and people are looking for new solutions. People are ready to pay, right? That's also very important. And these are these are reasons related to IBF. Now, another reason was why I was being chosen is I had already decided to actually move to Dubai and have my own venture. So, alhamdulillah, we will soon be going live. The business is called, I might as well I do a little promotion for that too. The business is called Bracketworks, and we provide D3 solutions. D3 as in design, data, and development solutions, especially for young entrepreneurs with great ideas who are able to raise a little bit of money, but they don't really know how to go about their product. They have great ideas, and soon we'll be doing venture building as well. By next year, we'll be plugging the two. People with great ideas and great products, and who are able to find the product market fit. Their product is growing, not just MVP, but product market fit. And now they want the funding from angels, and they want the funding from VCs. We're going to connect the two. So this is the business model that we are working with. And the good thing is this business will be launched in partnership with IBF. So it will still be, like sister companies to call it. So that's one of the reasons why I moved to Dubai and why I was being chosen to be in this market. And
Amazing.
surprisingly,
Very good
I would
news, mashallah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. And something to add on top of it is, while I came here, uh, my one mission was to talk to a lot of people, go around and meet a lot of people, and see what the sentiment of the market is when it comes to metaverse, when it comes to exciting features. Why am I calling it feature, not a solution? Is because this market is all about features. You add slightly one feature on top of it, people would be happy to pay, as long as it's a nice feature. It gives something in return. So I believe there is a huge potential in the automotive industry when it comes to metaverse. I believe there's a huge potential in the tourism industry as well when it comes to metaverse, without going too much into details. So I was actually intrigued, and I was very interested to know what people think. And people think, people validated my theory, people validated my hypothesis here, and they are excited about the technology.
Fantastic. So I think this is a good time for us to end this podcast. Number one, if you have any parting messages, and number two, if people want to talk to you and give you their feedback, where can they find you?
Sure, you can find me on LinkedIn. I go by the name Mohammed Mughis Khan. It's a little unique name. You'll still find a few movies on LinkedIn, but that's where I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. And parting notes, I would really, really thank Shen. I would thank Murad here for inviting me, for having me. And it was a really great session. I was actually really, really excited since the time I heard I'm being invited on this session. And I really hope this community grows. I really hope the community supports the solutions or the innovation we are doing here, because we need community. Without community, we are nothing. So, with that, I would conclude on my side at least.
Thank you so much, Maurice.
Thank you so much, Maurice, for having me one of our hosts, and looking forward to your progress. And I'd love to have you, announce new product when you're ready. And again, happy to have you on the show, and was happy to have a better ideas of what you guys are doing now. Jazakallah khair.
Likewise.
Wassalamu alaikum.
Likewise. Jazakallah khairan.